Eating a healthy, balanced diet.
In terms of foods to avoid, I don't think I'd ever necessarily tell people avoid foods.
Gone are the diets focused on eliminating entire food groups and depriving yourself of dishes you really love.
I think it all goes back down to the balance. So if you want the chips, what can you add to those chips to make you feel more satisfied and more full? So why don't you add some hummus to go with those chips?
A registered dietitian at Van Dusen Nutrition in Needham, Jenna Salkovich both counsels clients and cooks with them.
I don't like whole butternut squashes. They're impossible to cut. So I use the already cut because it's easier. I use this thing called the plate method. It's a easier thing to understand versus the food pyramid, which is basically just like taking your normal sized dinner plate, cutting it into thirds. 1/3 of that is carbs, 1/3 protein, 1/3 fruit and veg, and basically a drizzle of fat on top.
And while it's not necessary to completely cut them out, opt for less processed foods when possible.
So I think a lot of times when we are feeling really stressed, we tend to lean on a lot more chips and more of those processed snacky foods. So there's nothing wrong with those foods, but a lot of the times when our body is reliant on those foods and that's all we're eating, it does make it a lot harder for our body to process and deal with that stress. If you are meal prepping this and you need to store it, always add in some extra sauce because when you reheat it, it can be a little bit dry.
Preparing a few healthy, simple meals ahead of time helps reduce the stress of figuring out what to make and finding the time to cook it.
I think having that Sunday is a really great day to get yourself settled for the week, and that also helps bring that food noise down.
3 recipes that can be modified to include whatever's in the fridge: veggie egg bites with cheese, a Mediterranean bowl, and butternut squash pasta.
The quality of the food is so important. You need to have, your carbs, your proteins, your fats, fruits and veg. You need all those things to fuel your body. It's not just about the calories.
The healthier we are, the better we're able to handle, stress, changes in our lives.
Very interesting, and more advice from the registered dietitian. Don't stress yourself out by using BMI, body mass index.
Yeah, there's sort of a growing consensus that BMI is sort of an outdated and flawed measure of health, and that it's better to look at sort of the whole person, the whole system. So keep an eye on things like glucose levels, blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and look at that holistically as opposed to just the BMI.